Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tokyo Residence Experts. For foreign expats relocating to Tokyo or looking for a flat or investment property, this channel is dedicated to introducing you to Tokyo and Japanese property and culture. Today's theme is now the best time to invest in Japanese property? From previous issue. To sum it up roughly, Japan is relatively cheap compared to the rest of the world. So all prices are likely to rise in the future. In a sense, this may sound a little wild, but what is the reality? As I mentioned earlier, when talking about the actual situation, Japan's population and working population are important. The population is decreasing, but the working population has managed to stay the same. Women are now as active in society as men. Household incomes are increasing due to double income, and so-called power couples are buying luxury flats. But that too has its limits because the overall population is decreasing. Next to that, the elderly are supplementing the working population. It used to be said that people retired at the age of 60. But now more than half of those aged 65 and over are still working. But that too will reach its limits. It is obvious that the working population will decrease due to the aging of the population. In this context, I think DX, robotics and AI will come to compensate for the shortage of labor. I think Japan will be at the forefront of this and set an example for the rest of the world. Then there is immigration. The US is a country of immigrants, and I believe that immigration is a major factor in maintaining the country's strength. They are the key to supporting the country's overall population and working population. Japan, as I mentioned earlier, is not a nation that accepts immigrants. But since 2018 it has been supplementing its labor force by accepting workers from overseas. Under the specified skills system, you often see people from overseas at construction sites, factories and convenience stores. However, they are not immigrants and their period of stay is limited to 5 years. And basically they are not allowed to bring their family members with them. However, I think that in the future this policy will have to change. I think this will lead to a gradual increase in the population and a real increase in the economy. To change the subject slightly, have you ever wondered why in developed countries such as Japan, which are reluctant to accept immigrants, the birth rate is declining and the population is decreasing? Conversely, in slightly poorer countries, the birth rate is higher and there are more young people. Why is this? My own observations are as follows. When you are poor, you are struggling to survive. Children are born, but they cannot afford to spend money on them. So children are born naturally, and the mortality rate is high, but the population grows. On the other hand, as people become richer, they can afford to spend more money on their children and, in a sense, the greed of parents to give their children a better education becomes stronger, and the cost of childcare and education becomes higher. According to government estimates, it now costs $20,000 to $30,000 to raise one child. Of course, there are differences in the way each of us spends money, but it is still a considerable amount of money. I can understand why young people might want to have only one child, if it costs so much compared to their own salary, or why they might want to enjoy their own lives freely without even having children or getting married. I graduated from university during the bubble period. One day, I was surprised when I compared the tuition fees at that time with those of today's universities. It was more than 3 times higher. In contrast, the average wage and other prices in Japan have hardly changed since then. In the post-bubble deflationary period, only the tuition fees continued to rise steadily every year. When we looked closely at why this happened, we found that one university decided that tuition fees could not be raised that much because of deflation. So they kept them the same and the number of applications dropped drastically. They may have thought that if tuition fees were lower than others, the quality of education would also decline. Also, sales at baby goods shops were thought to be decreasing due to the falling birth rate. But it seems to be the opposite, sales are increasing. This is because the unit price per child has risen. We believe that parents' desire to spend more money to raise their children is accelerating. The increase in childcare and education costs, which in turn is lowering the birth rate. The government is now proposing free education as a measure to combat the declining birth rate. We hope that this will increase the birth rate. Children are a treasure, but overspending is also a problem. The internet is so widely used in this world. It is possible to get a free education on the internet without going to cram school. I think that the days of going to a good university, getting a good job, and living a secure life are over, considering the rate at which young people are changing jobs these days. I have digressed a little, but considering the above, I think it is a good time to invest in real estate, as prices in Japan as a whole will continue to rise. And the country can imagine that it will become more stable in the future. Of course, investment is done at your own risk, but I hope you will find this information useful. Thank you for watching until the end. I myself am a real estate agency. So if you are interested in buying or selling real estate for your home or for investment, please contact us via our website via the QR code.